Welcome to another unit in this Excel course. In the previous unit, I talked a little bit about how I can illustrate my data with corresponding charts. Well, this is pretty nice. The only downside is I always get a relatively big chart where I have to invest a lot of work to actually make this look nice. What if I simply want to have like a first impression? How will this look like? What is the overall tendency of this data set, this data series? That's where I can use so-called Sparklines. That's if I go with Insert, I have here Sparklines. Sparklines are available in 3 versions. I could either go with lines, columns, or win-loss. This is more or less the same as here my line charts. This is the same as my column charts. This is like positive, negative values. So if I go with line charts, what this actually does is, for example, I click down here, click on the line charts, I select an import range, then I have a location range, that's the part down here. So this usually is only one cell. If I click OK, I get like a first impression how this looks like in a line chart, in only one cell. So this is like a 1 cell chart. And could then do the same thing for the one here. So this is more or less the overall trend for exam 1, the overall trend for exam 2. If I don't want to have line chart, can click here, I automatically get to Sparkline tools, and I can click on column charts. So that's how they basically look as column charts. So I have my small, tiny column charts here. I'm not using this for any analytical purposes. This is just to give me a short idea, how does this look like, what is the overall trend. Easily integrated in my spreadsheet as is. Okay, so this was line charts, or Sparklines with lines, Sparklines with columns. What about the win-loss? Okay, imagine I have here different numbers. Let's say it could be positive or could be negative as well. And I want to illustrate them. So if I want to do this, I can also use my Sparklines. Here, the win-loss actually makes sense. Select this, put the output below this. Then I get an impression which areas are actually in the positive, that's the upper part, which areas are actually in the negative. And the zeros are displayed as there's nothing there. So this again gives you an overview about what the general trend looks like. Do I have a lot of zeros, a lot of negative values? So as I said, it's not for really analytical purposes, it's just a quick glance, first impression of your data set. What's the general lookout of this? Well, that's done. The 3 options I have for Sparklines. I could also mark specific different things like the low point, the highest, the smallest point. This would illustrate a lot of additional things. Here, for example, those guys have the highest marks or the worst results. Low points, those guys, well, I cannot really see anything, would have the best results. So that's additional things how to change this. But the general idea is I use them to get a quick first impression of my data series, and I can easily integrate this first impression into my sheet as well. The advantage, as I can see here, if I change something, so I make this negative, they automatically adjust. So they're dynamic on top of what they are. So that's a pretty neat thing to have. And well, as I said, there's not a lot to talk about this. Easily integrated, easily implemented and realized. So this already concludes this session, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. And if you want to see additional insights on Excel, feel free to visit the rest of this course or have a look in the corresponding playlist. I say goodbye and see you next time.